Good evening, and thanks to everyone who is joining us tonight for the first Maine Voices Live Waterville event of the year. I'm Bill Stewart, sports editor of the Kennebec Journal and Morning Sentinel. We're thrilled to have you all here for tonight's virtual chat. We would like to extend a huge thanks, as always, to Colby College, which has continued to sponsor this popular event series. Our featured guests tonight are the Flagg family, and you may or may not have heard of them. They include brother Cooper, Ace, and Hunter, mom Kelly Bowman, and dad Ralph. The boys became something of a celebrity basketball family this past season. Cooper and Ace came to Nokomis Regional High as freshmen with incredible, rarely seen statewide attention. And with the help of senior brother Hunter, they carried Nokomis to its first ever boys basketball state championship. Cooper electrified crowds and dominated opponents with thunderous dunks and standout play, and really became just quite a sensation across the state. And Cooper and Ace will be transferring to basketball prep powerhouse Montverde Academy in Montverde, Florida. But in the meantime, they're finishing out a school year in Maine and joining us tonight for a talk about this past season and what happens next. They'll be interviewed tonight by award-winning sports reporter Drew Bonifant. So please join me in welcoming Drew and the Flaggs to the virtual stage.
Thank you very much, Bill, for that. And Kelly, Ralph, Hunter, Ace, and Cooper, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I think it's gonna be fun talking to you guys about this past basketball season, kind of what's going on right now, and just talking about a really interesting story in the state. And I just figured I'd start off by talking about kind of what's going on right now with you all. I mean, Cooper and Ace playing for the Maine United and playing in the Nike EYBL, which is the Elite Youth Basketball League. How's it going? What's that experience been like? And what's I know you've just gotten started, but what's it been like so far?
It's been extremely exciting, kind of a whirlwind, coming off winning a state championship with Nokomis and getting right into our Maine United season and just keeping the winning going. So it's we're kind of riding that wave still. It's such a great opportunity for not just my boys, but all the boys on the team to go and play competition on that stage and at that level and show what Maine kids can do. And we're not just going down there and competing, but we're going and winning, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, Cooper and Ace, what has the competition been like? The jump like? I mean, this is a league that has sent players to the NBA and to obviously to high college too. What's it been like adjusting to playing those kinds of teams?
I mean, I think it's kind of a physical jump from basketball in Maine, but everybody can play out there. Everyone's physically at the same level as you. So I think at a point, it's more of just like a mental game. When you start playing people that are as physically developed as you. So it pretty much just comes down to who's more mentally prepared and who's comes ready to play every night when you go down and play.
Were there ever nerves when it came to kind of trying that level of competition? I mean, you guys have been able to handle everything that's been thrown at you to this point, but this was a different challenge. Was there at all a feeling of, okay, we're going to get a new sense for how we measure up here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going into our first game, I think everyone was there was some nerves there, but you just got to remember you're just another player out on this court. And we just played our game.
How about just the busyness of the schedule? I mean, you've already traveled to Orlando for games, and I think if I remember correctly, Kelly, you were telling me that the team will be going on to Indianapolis, Kansas City, and Kentucky. I mean, that's a lot of travel. Is that at all tough to balance schedules around that, whether it's school or whether it's social things or things like that? What's that part of it like, the logistics side of it?
It's challenging. It can be challenging. We just finished up driver's education with Ace and Cooper. They started back in January. They were taking a Sunday class and ran into some conflicts right at the tail end and trying to schedule their driving time, getting their driving hours in during tourney weeks and and then launching into, this season. And it was a little bit tricky. We got it done. So, pray for us, everybody, because we're sitting in the passenger seat right now, and those guys are behind the wheel. So it's a little bit scary. No, I'm just kidding. They're doing fine. You're fine, boys. But yeah, we all have challenges, scheduling conflicts. One of our other players, same thing, had to reschedule a drive yesterday to make it up for practice from Portland. So, there's always scheduling conflicts, and there's always things that arise that, especially when, you're dealing with kids from all over the state, trying to get everybody together. And then on top of that, trying to put together a travel plan for a large group is never easy. Scheduling hotels, doing all those sorts of things. So it's definitely hectic and stressful. And sometimes I feel like my Maine United job in some ways supersedes my regular job, and that makes it tough and challenging. I'm trying to balance both, but this time of year definitely is a little bit more difficult. But we're really busy. We're on the go. We're flying down to Orlando again before we head out to Indianapolis to get some practice time in as a team and get ready. And then we're in Indy next weekend. And then we actually are going to be going back to Orlando the beginning of May for another tournament. Then we are in Albany the end of May, and then, going to Kansas City. So it's a full plate for sure, and all in the hopes of qualifying for the big event, the big culminating event for the EYBL is the Peach Jam. And you have to win games, basically, is what we've been told. How do you qualify? Well, you win games. So we took care of business last weekend in Orlando, and but I told the boys at the end of practice yesterday, we haven't won anything in this next tournament. So every time we go, and it's a clean slate, and it's us against the world. And sometimes we feel like it's us against the other team plus the officials, but of course every team looks at it that way. But we just go and battle, and really I think the mantra that we're really pushing is believe, the word believe. And these guys really believe in what we're doing and believe in each other, and that's really, really important. So that's it.
Yeah, Ace and Cooper, have you guys really enjoyed that side of it, being a team from Maine that goes in and surprises some teams, whether they're from New York or Ohio or anything like that? Is that something that's kind of fun? Is getting people to say, like, what the heck was with that team from Maine when they're finished playing you guys?
Yeah, I think going into every game, we kind of have like an underdog attitude. So we was going expecting the highest out of the other team, where the other team probably comes in and expects the lowest out of us. So, yeah, I think it's fun. You go out and you kick the crap out of somebody for a full game, and then you see the shock on their face when you do it. So, definitely brings great pleasure to us.
I'll tell a quick story about our first year. I think I told you this story, Drew, once before. When we went to the MAID, we were invited to play in the MAID League, which is Nike's middle school circuit, as a seventh grade team. And we went, and we weren't sure what we were gonna get for competition. We figured, the other teams were pretty good, and we went into our first game playing a team, I think out of North Carolina, called Team Dominate. And we remember looking over and watching our kids kind of walk across the floor, and the other team was sitting there stretching and getting ready and kind of sizing up our players. And they knew they were from Maine. And the looks on their faces, they were kind of hiding smirks and, pointing a little bit like, who are these kids? And then we started the game, and I think we were up 20-2 after maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes. And we never really looked back. That first season, we went 9-1 in the regular season. And these guys have just continued, like I said, they continue to believe and just they do everything we ask of them, and they believe in each other, and they work hard.
One thing that was a theme kind of throughout was just handling expectations and handling hype and everything like that. And did any of that surprise you this season, or was that all? I'm sure you're expecting some level of expectations coming in, but did any of that take you by surprise? Just how much attention was on that team?
I'm not sure really. I mean, we always knew there was going to be expectations on our team, so I think it was just mostly about coming out and just blocking it all out and focusing on our team together. So I think we knew that if we just played as a team and stayed focused on the goal that was at hand, then we'd be fine.
And one thing that I remember Coach Anderson always said was block the noise, and you guys started repeating that point. Hunter, I'll give you a chance to talk about that. Just kind of what went into. It's one thing to say block the noise; it's another thing to do it. Was it tough to kind of do that and follow the coach's orders in that sense?
It wasn't really hard for any of us. I think we all knew that Coach Anderson had that high level, experience, and he knew what it took to get to such a high level. And one of those things was just blocking out the noise and not listening to anybody else but him. And we all just wanted to win. And so that's what we did.
And Hunter, for you came into the season as a senior captain for this team. How did you approach that role in terms of guiding this team? And, because obviously Ace and Cooper are used to playing at a high level and everything. But there are a lot of other sophomores and freshmen who this is kind of new for. How did you kind of help the team get through that?
Yeah, I think just showing up every day, ready to work and practice was a big thing. We all came ready to work, and I think that was a big part of our success with all the other guys too. We had sophomores, freshmen who had never, some guys started, never played a varsity minute before. And I think just helping them get better every day was a big part of our success.
For the three of you, Cooper, Ace, and Hunter, what's kind of your memory, your takeaway memory, especially from the postseason run that you went on? Was it the wins? Was it the crowd environments that you played in front of? Because that was certainly a big point people were noticing with the big crowds that turned out. What were some of your memories from your standout memories from that run?
I'll say my favorite memories from all of the season, I know, was the bus rides after the tournament games with all the guys. Just completely bonding on the bus at the back, just talking. We had a little thing where we would interview each other as a joke and stuff like that. So just spending time with each other after the games and just having fun with everyone was just probably the best part.
Ace or Hunter?
Yeah, like Cooper said, just bonding with each other, hanging out. After the state game, we all spent the night at one of our friends' house. Ethan Cody, he's on the team, and that was just one of my most favorite nights, hanging out with everyone.
Yeah, like Cooper said, we did those little funny post-game interviews on the bus, and just off the court stuff, just being such good friends with each other. I feel like that was one of the best experiences I could have had. I wouldn't have wanted done that with any other group of guys. So that it just the group of kids was just special.
Did it mean even more to be able to do it all? Able to do it all together? Cooper and Ace play together all the time, but Hunter, I'm not sure how many times they've had a chance to play with you. Was it cool to have that moment to play with each other and to really to share that basketball highlight with each other as a family?
Yeah, to me, that was everything. We hadn't played with each other before in a school basketball type of way, because they weren't allowed to play. When I was in 8th grade and they were in 5th grade, they were my managers actually. Pretty decent managers, but I think I like them more on the court. But yeah, it was just extremely, like, I'm never gonna forget that experience, and it's just extremely special.
And speaking of playing together, what's it? I mean, brothers growing up is always it can always be a contentious thing with rivalries and stuff, especially three athletes. What was it like growing up together? Were there a lot of knockdown pickup games, or and what's sort of the competitiveness between you guys?
I mean, we played pickup in the parking lot, or not parking lot, but the driveway a lot growing up. I mean, I think after a while we had to stop because it would end in a fist fight. But yeah, I mean, just really competitive, just pushing each other to be the best we can be. But yeah, that had to end after a while.
Hunter, you were nodding like you could remember a few in particular.
Oh yeah, I mean, playing like one-on-one in the driveway. Someone would be at 4, game would be to 5, and you just hammer each other, not trying to let the other person score. Just like it was. Sometimes it got bad.
They can never call their own fouls ever. They never foul.
I was going to ask, who was the most likely to get under somebody's skin with some trash talking, and who was the most likely to get frustrated and chuck the ball in the woods and want to leave the court?
I was definitely the one that was easily under people's skin because I was always winning. So I mean, you're winning, it's easy to talk trash. So
and trash talking.
I'm definitely the best trash talker as well. I mean, no one compares to me when it comes to the old driveway basketball league. So, I'd kill him a little bit and talk him smack, and then Ace would end up punting the ball across the street and he'd have to go get it. So, yeah.
You have some Larry Bird, some Reggie Miller to you, ability just to kind of stoke things along a little bit.
I think Ace was the most, Hunter was the one that would get the most frustrated, though.
Absolutely.
Lose his mind. He would lose his mind.
Ace, you look like you agree with that.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do was I would intentionally like make Hunter mad, get him till he does something like punches me or throws the ball at me, and then no, I'm done playing with you. No, Dad, Hunter's throwing the ball. He gets in trouble, so always worked out.
All right, so we've had the prosecution have their moment. Now, Hunter, I'm going to give the defense a chance to defend himself.
I mean, that's not how I remember things going. I'd like to plead the fifth on this one, so I'll just sit this one out.
How about just other things you guys have had in common while growing up? Basketball is obviously a common thread, but I mean, aside from that, are you just completely different sets of interests and everything, or are there other things that you've shared over the years? I don't know who wants to go.
I mean, we're always together on and off the court, so I think our interests have just kind of been the same ever since we were little. Because I mean, we're always together anyway, so it just makes it easier for everyone if we just like to do the same thing. So I think it's always just what happened. So we have a lot of the same hobbies outside of basketball, like fishing, hunting, just things like that.
I watched an interview you guys did last year where you mentioned going to Popham Beach. Is that a favorite spot for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We've gone there a few times. We have some friends that let us use their house down there. So, I mean, going to the basketball court. Oh, wait, no, that's Popham. Well, no, Popham. Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's not the one with the island, I think. You can walk out to. So, Yeah, we definitely spent a lot of time walking out through the sand to the island. But then there's Old Orchard too. That's definitely a good spot. That's when all our friends have a house down there. You can stay there. There's a basketball court down the road that Dad would drive us to. We go and play 5-on-5 pickup with a bunch of people at the court. But yeah, we like to spend some time at the beach.
And Kelly and Ralph, how about the parenting side of this in terms of, how have you kind of gone about sort of having that team of bringing up athletes here? Is somebody involved more on the sports side, somebody involved more on the making sure the homework's getting done side? How does that sort of teamwork work out?
We do a lot of good cop, bad cop, and I'm always the bad cop, and Ralph is always the good cop. He's the yes man. I'll say no, and then he turns around and says yes. But, as far as academics go, they're all really strong academically, and they're probably smarter than both of us. So we haven't had to really get on them too much. One of the three is we have to get on a little bit more just to be mindful to make sure things get done, not because they're not capable, but because sometimes they just maybe slack off and forget things. But I won't tell you which one it is. He knows. No, I mean, it's a partnership for sure. And this year was actually easy, especially during the winter. Hunter with his license and them all being on the same team for the first time. It was really nice for us because he did all the chauffeuring to practices and home from practices and to games and things like that. And we were able to just kind of show up when we were supposed to be there. And we had a lot of time, to ourselves that we're not used to. And so that was kind of cool, but we've been busy over the years for sure, especially with them playing on different teams. And, all parents, I think, go through that when their kids are involved and busy. And Cooper, you didn't mention that Hunter also is very musically inclined. So that's something that's different from his brothers. Neither of them can really sing or carry a tune. So, but Hunter is very gifted in music.
Hunter, what do you play?
I play guitar and I sing. I'm in the vocal jazz group at Nokomis. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Kelly, one thing I want to talk to you about was just, your own basketball journey, being a 1,000-point, actually 1,200-point scorer at Nokomis, and now you have and playing at UMaine, being on that UMaine team that beat Stanford in the NCAA tournament. Now you're a coach with the Maine United. What's your coaching style with your boys, and how and after you answer Cooper and Ace, I want to know how she comes across as a coach when she's working with you guys.
That was a loaded question. So yeah, I think my playing days are long gone, and I used to play, especially with Cooper. He liked to play whenever he could get either one of us, to play a game of pig or horse or any other word he could come up with to make it last longer. And then we transitioned to playing one-on-one, and I never let them win. Like, I would never, ever, ever let him beat me and that's what I always told him. I said, you'll never beat me until you can actually beat me. I think I made it to about 5th grade. Is that right, Coop? You were maybe fifth or 6th grade, beginning of 6th grade. And I came up with an injury that prevented me from being able to play any longer. So, he never really beat me. I will just say that. But they obviously never really saw me play. It was so long ago. And, but I think for the most part, they understand that I know the game and I understand the game. And as a coach, as they've gotten a little bit older, I will give some reminders on things that I'm seeing that they're doing that they know better than, and sometimes they don't want to hear it in the moment, like any kid, but they're pretty receptive for the most part. Cooper more so than Ace. But I tend to not talk to them a lot on the bench. And I talk more probably to the other boys, and I let Andy do more of that coaching with them, that instructing with them, because they're more apt to take it as that constructive criticism coming from him than from mom. But we have that relationship where I talk to his son, Caden. Sometimes he's able to hear things coming from me better than he is from his dad. So, it's a good relationship that we have that way.
Yeah, and Cooper and Ace, I didn't know if you had thoughts just on the kind of coaching that Kelly brings to the team, and what tend to be kind of areas that she likes to focus on.
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, she gives us a lot of tips and stuff, but I mean, I think as we've progressed, she's kind of backed off a little bit as being more of like a overall coach, more of just like a helper, kind of just like tips and not like big concepts. So I think as we've progressed, definitely she's mellowed out a little bit, but when we were young, she definitely would be more like of a head coach type of person, like running us through drills in the driveway and stuff like that, and getting on us pretty hard. And
I mean, kind of switching gears, Cooper and Ace, the twin dynamic. What's that been like, kind of over time? And what are some ways in which you guys are very similar and ways that you're different? I would think people probably assume because you're twins that you guys are have a ton in common. But is that the case, or are there a lot of things that you guys are very different about?
Yeah. I'd say we're not really that alike at all. Obviously our play style, he's more of a forward, or I'm more of a big, but yeah. And then outside of sports, completely different. He sits on the computer for 3 hours a day, where I sit up in my room for 3 hours a day. So I'm more isolated than him, but when it comes, we all like to make fun of him. He's a picky eater, so I'll eat basically anything, but when it comes, he won't. So,
Cooper, you look like you don't agree with that.
Well, I mean, by isolated, he just means he sits in his room all day. I mean, I sit in the living room and play the computer around all my family. I don't see how that can be seen as a bad thing. But he's just wrong. I mean, we're alike in so many ways. Our basketball paths have just led us the same way. And, I mean, off the court, we're together 95% of the time. So I don't see how we can be that different. Our hobbies, I mean, he plays video games too. I mean, don't let him lie to you. He likes to sit on the PS4 and play games too. So I don't know why he's trying to argue that we're not alike. We're very much alike off the court. We're together all the time, and I'm not that picky, just certain foods.
Nothing wrong with being a picky eater. I can, as a reformed picky eater myself, I can say that. But yeah, I mean, you talk about being together all the time, and obviously being together on this on this, playing with Nokomis, now playing with this with the Maine United, and have you guys had to learn to be comfortable with the attention and everything that comes with it? Whether that's giving interviews, whether that's anything else, and was there a point where, if you had, was there a point where you became comfortable with all of that?
I don't really know if there's a point that it became comfortable. I think it just sort of realized over the time, like, it's not something that you're gonna like doing, but it's something that just comes with the path that me and Ace are following. So I think we realized that it's good for us, and it's good for what we're trying to do. So I think probably more so at the start of this high school years, when we started getting more comfortable and realizing that it's just going to drive our career forward.
Is there ever a point where you just think, like, look, enough, enough? I just want, to go away. I want people to, you know, kind of be left alone with all this, even if just for a little bit? Or is there thinking always, look, exposure is always a good thing. It's always, you know, it's always going to help me along. So it's always a matter of embracing it.
Yeah, I think sometimes throughout the season this year, Nokomis Region, it got a lot for me. But again, I just sort of remember that it's something that just I need to do, and it's not a bad thing. So just you got to do it.
Ace, what's your path been like with that?
Just realize that it's something that's gonna help you going forward. So just do it.
Probably just a matter of getting over that hump and just becoming, you know, learning to kind of embrace being outside of your comfort zone, or whether it's just you know, logging on Twitter and seeing everybody talking about you. I can't imagine that was something of an adjustment as well. You know, and how about just the do you work in breaks with basketball? I mean, you play so much with all the travel and everything. Do you have times where you just have to kind of get away from basketball a little bit just to keep it fresh for you, or is that never really an issue?
I wouldn't say that we work in a day off, but every so often, like the schedule works out where you don't have results or a game and you have that off day, and it's always nice to have that day where you can just relax for a bit.
Yeah, Cooper, is basketball burnout ever a thing for you?
He had to come get a charger. His computer was dying, so there he is.
No, I mean, not really. I mean, I think sometimes younger, it would be a lot, and I get a little bit burnout. But I mean, over time, it's just something that I love to do, so it's never really gets to be too much.
When it comes to managing your games in the court and just how that's kind of gotten to this point, what have been some areas of basketball that have really kind of come naturally to you, and that have just been something that just was really kind of there from the start? And what have been some areas of your game that you've added that really you had to work at and that really were kind of less natural to add?
I mean, I think for me, something that I've always had is just determination and a mentality. Just always wanting to win and always giving 100%. And I think something that I've added is just, I mean, the touch that you get only from practicing a lot, a shot. So it's just stuff that you can only get from reps. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have raw talent, but it's what you do with the talent that really defines you. So I think just all the practice hours and working on your touch at the rim and jump shot and stuff like that is just what's been added.
And Ace, were there areas of your game that were just kind of always were natural to you, whether it was finishing inside or whether it was defensive things, and whatever some areas that you kind of had to really work to add to your game?
Yeah, definitely. Always growing up, I was a little bit taller than Cooper until recently. So on our rec teams, I was always assigned the big role. So, you know, growing up, I was always the big, and so now, you know, big's not known for a good shot. So now I'm trying to develop a better jump shot and extend my range a little bit.
And obviously, you have a big step coming up, going to, you know, once the summer is done, going to Montverde Academy, and just take me through that decision, what that was like, when you kind of started, when the pendulum started to shift in the direction of leaving Nokomis and going there, and just how tough a decision that was, if there was any any second guesses, things like that. What was it just like arriving at the decision to head somewhere else?
You want me to take this one?
Sure.
I mean, it was in the back of our minds. It was something that, you know, somebody had brought up to us a couple of years ago, and it's just not really something that a lot of Maine kids have done historically. And so, you know, we didn't really think a lot about it. And then last year we we just started thinking, maybe that is the right path. Maybe that is something we want to at least look into. And we started just kind of exploring what was out there for schools. They actually visited Montverde last year, about a year ago in April, and we visited the school, we toured the school, we met the coaches, and we stayed in contact with the coaches, but, we kind of walked away, and I've said this a couple times, we walked away and he actually said, "What'd you say?"
I said, "No way." This wasn't something, I wasn't ready to send them away that far. But
Yeah, it's really, it is far. And, we pushed that aside and we said, if we're going to explore some schools, let's look at some that are a little closer to home. And we started, as coaches started reaching out to us, we started, having more in-depth conversations with some of those New England schools, Brewster Academy, New Hampton, Northfield, Mount Herman, and went and visited those schools and got a tour of the campuses. And then really this, as this winter went on, the winter season, and the success that they were having here, we knew that was probably what was the logical next step for them. And so started narrowing down the choices, and suddenly Montverde came back into the picture, and the coaches had reached out once again, and we had some really great conversations, but really ultimately they invited the boys for us to come down to the Hoop Hall Classic in Springfield and see a game, take in a game. We were able to sit, this was back in January, and they were able to sit behind the bench and really get that bird's eye view of what that looks like, what the coaching, how the coaches interact with the players. And it was great for us too, to kind of see that, the coaching style and the style of play and the emphasis that they put on their defense was really, really intriguing to us, because we've always, been a defense first kind of family, and the teams that they've played on have always focused strongly on the defensive side of things. So I think we walked away and the boys were pretty impressed with the level of play that they saw and the level of not only the players on that team, but the level of competition. And being able to see players like Derek Whitehead play, up close and in person, who was the Naismith Player of the Year this year. I know he got a bunch of other accolades. Also, Duke commit, going to Duke next year. And every player on their starting five was committed at the time to a high-level D1 program. So, they certainly know how to produce talent and develop players, develop their skills. And at the end of the day, it was really more the decision about not that they can't play at a high level here in Maine, but being pushed day in and day out to become the best versions of themselves that they can become. Staying in Maine, they probably can get some pretty high level offers, but for us, it's more about being prepared once they get there to play against that competition. And so that's the lens that we're looking, and it's tough. It was a tough decision, because as I think you heard them describing their time this season with their Nokomis teammates, it really, I've never been around a team of a group of kids closer than that group of boys. It's a brotherhood for sure, and they're going to miss them. They're going to miss their teammates, and but they're going to stay close, friends forever with those guys. Dawson is on our Maine United team also. So, they're obviously really, really close with Doss, and he will, I'm sure, he's already planning to make some trips down to Florida to stay and be able to hang with them down there. But I know a lot of the other guys too, Madden and, they're just really, really close. And that was hard. I think the hardest thing for them about that decision was having to tell their friends and their teammates that they were leaving early. And, it wasn't a decision that we've taken lightly, for sure. When you think about the sacrifice we're making as parents, most people have their kids for 18 years and we're giving up 3 years with our kids at home to try to put what we feel like is in their best interest and put their needs first. So I know everybody out there has lots of opinions on whether or not we're doing the right thing. And, we all get one chance to do this parenting thing with each of our kids. And hopefully we're not screwing it up and making a mistake, but this is where our hearts are leading us. And I think they'll tell you they're excited. They're excited about that next step as well.
Yeah, Ace or Cooper, I was hoping you could talk about just the excitement of taking that next step, but also the fact that, I remember asking people in the fall, whether it was at a football game or at wrestling matches, like, have you heard anything about where Ace or Cooper might be going? Are they staying? Are they leaving? And nobody knew. And how much was, and so I was hoping you could talk about your excitement of leaving, of going to Montverde and what they offer, but also kind of how there was a focus to really make sure that the emphasis of the season was on Nokomis and you didn't distract from what was going on with the Nokomis season.
Obviously it's very exciting for a lot of different reasons. It's also hard for a lot of different reasons, like Mom just said. But I just think being around all the people that are going to push you as much as you want to push yourself is one of the most exciting things. And just the level of players that we're going to be around day in and day out is really exciting. So,
was it tough to keep it under wraps, and make sure nothing was getting out? Because you guys, like I was saying, you guys did a good job of. And there weren't even, I never heard even hints or rumors sneaking out of Flagg camp.
We didn't really even get accepted into the school until after the state game had happened, like couple 3-4 weeks after, I think it was. So we hadn't got accepted anywhere, so it wasn't even 100% in our minds yet. So we were just staying in the moment, living it up with our teammates. Just having the best season that we could with everyone that was on the team and just living in the brotherhood and just loving every minute of it. So, I think it was just, it's fun to look forward to, but it was also pretty easy to just keep out of our minds and just stay focused on the goals that were at hand.
And just a wrap-up question before we get to the Q&A that's been submitted. Cooper, I want to talk to you about the news we just heard about being offered from UCLA. Now it's UCLA and it's Iowa. It's in addition to the offers you already had. I just figured I'd ask. You've done a good job of taking all this in stride, but are there ever times where you just kind of you just kind of think like, man, this is crazy, just kind of what's happened to this point and what could be coming up for me later on?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I see that in my mind, but my mindset about it is this is what I'm trying to do. So this is just steps in the right direction, and we just got to keep working hard and keep looking forward.
Excellent. We can go to the Q&A next, and we have a question from somebody asking, can the boys talk about their nutrition program and specifically what do they eat before games?
I wouldn't say we have a specific nutrition plan, but definitely pre-games, days before games, it's very important to start getting hydrated and start trying to eat a little bit better than you might off season and stuff like that. But I think the biggest part is just staying hydrated, keeping away the cramps and things like that.
And another one is, they say, Kelly, how does it feel to be the shortest family member? Kelly and Ralph, what are some of the things you want all your sons to keep in mind as they travel?
I'm okay being the shortest family member. I was always self-conscious of my height growing up, and I married for DNA. I said I can fall in love with him later. No, I'm just kidding. I had a master plan. Ha ha ha. And advice on travel. What's the advice on travel?
Just stay humble and, keep grinding and work hard. It'll all take care of itself in the end.
We have been saying, will the remainder of your EYBL games and your Montverde games be live streamed and available to the public to watch?
Our EYBL games, for some reason, they're not doing the E15 and E16 games, only the 17s.
Okay.
But we have an awesome parent, Scott Bessie, who is the coach at Spruce Mountain. His son, Jace, is on the team and for Maine United, and he has graciously been Facebook Living from his son Jace's account, our games, and then I've uploaded them after on our Maine United Facebook page. So if you don't catch it live, they'll always be posted there after. As far as the Montverde games, many of their games are televised on ESPN Plus and ESPNU. This season they had a lot of games that were on there. And I'm not sure about all of their regular season games, if they do live stream through the NFHS network for some games, but there are quite a few that are televised on ESPN channels.
We have another thing. At what age did they start playing basketball, and do any of them play any other sports? This is for the three brothers.
I'll start. I don't play any other sports as of right now and for the rest of my career. So I'm just playing basketball, and I think I started probably as soon as I could dribble a ball, just walking around, dribbling in, just kind of messing around.
But you did play other sports. You can say what other sports you used to play.
I used to play soccer, switched to football, baseball, and I ran track one year.
Ace and Hunter?
I'll go next. This year I played football for Nokomis, but obviously going to Montverde, they don't have football, so have to be giving that up too. Used to play soccer, switched to football in 4th grade, and like Cooper said, baseball, and that's it.
So I ran cross country this year, and I ran it last year as a junior, and I've ran outdoor track all the way up through like middle school and high school. I flip-flopped really between like football and soccer in middle school and high school and stuff like that, but I tried cross country because we didn't have football my junior year, so I just tried cross country and I really enjoyed that.
And this one's for Cooper. Are you focused on becoming a playmaker, kind of a or a point guard, and so as to be ready to step into any position looking forward?
I see myself already as kind of a playmaker. So, obviously developing the skills even more, continuing to develop my vision, but also just trying to set my teammates up in the right spots, I guess.
One saying, what are Hunter's plans for next year? And we talked about earlier going to Maine and focusing on education, but I figured I'd expound on that by saying, what are you interested in teaching, and where would you kind of like to see the career path go from there?
I'm more interested in teaching English. I'm really strong in that subject. And as far as like my career path goes, wherever I end up, I'll be glad to get a job somewhere.
One saying, your mother is a basketball star in her own right, having massive success in high school and in college. We hit on that earlier. How much pride do you take in this?
I mean, growing up, hearing hearing all sorts of, stories about how good mom was and how she broke Cindy Blodgett's nose or something like that. I mean, it really drove me as a player to get better, and I'm sure it drove Ace and Cooper as well, knowing that she played at such a high level. Yeah.
One here saying, Cooper and or Ace, do you both stay down low in your stance as a matter of practice? As you may know, it's much easier to go up than to go down, and then up in your stance, also working on your quickness skills.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been working on our quickness, agility. I mean, growing up, had the speed ladders, working on staying low in a stance, just going through those, I think really helped.
That's something that Scalabrini's talked with Cooper a lot about is, just really focusing on staying low in his stance and being more explosive by always staying loaded. And so I know Coach McKenzie, every time he goes in there, is harping on, I think both of them at this point to just stay low and be loaded and ready for whatever you want to do. So that's a good question.
Yeah, it sounds like a question for somebody who has either taught some basketball or played themselves. Ace and Cooper, do you have any pregame rituals? Whether it's food, whether it's playing some music. What are some of your go-to drills or something before the game?
I wouldn't say I have many rituals, but I know as our Nokomis team, every playoff game, every person sat in the same spot on the bus on the way down. So we were always making sure everyone was sitting where their spot was.
I think something that I always like to do, I don't know if I even think about it at this point, is when I get ready to put my shoes on, I always roll my right sock up first and roll it down, and then I put my left sock up and I roll that one down, and then I put my right shoe and then my left shoe.
No reason to change now, right? And who are your favorite NBA players of all time? 3 of you.
I'm gonna have to go with Larry Bird. Yeah, greatest shooter of all time, right there.
Ooh, that's a statement. Ace, it sounded like you said Larry Bird too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Larry Bird obviously is my favorite player of all time. I don't know. It kind of just was a little bit forced on us, I think, growing up. Long car rides, we used to have a van, and we had the little TV screens, and I think 95% of the movies that we played on were Larry Bird 1985, 86 championships, or Larry Bird documentary, Bird versus Magic. Just pretty much it was all Larry Bird. So I think that's what we were taught from a young age. So I think that's always been all 3 of our favorite players of all time.
How about have you guys tried to model your games after NBA players?
I'd say something that I've taken from Larry Bird is his kind of mentality on the court, his determination, and his will to always win. So I've definitely taken that from him.
How are you planning out your future goal setting for basketball aspirations? How's your pregame warm up and prep routines been shaping up to kind of help you prepare for games going at a higher level of play?
I think something that we're starting to do more now than we have in the past is something that we really should have been doing more. Because we're young is really starting to get into more stretching and just keeping your body ready at all times, on and off the court. I mean, warm up, obviously you want to stretch, but I think I'm starting to realize that it's really important to, if you're just laying around at your house or something, just do it like watching TV, just start stretching a little bit while you're watching it, and just things like that will keep your body ready and healthy in the long run.
That's the question I think a lot of people are probably wondering. Kelly and Ralph, it's increasingly likely that Ace and Cooper will be playing college basketball at some level. Have you given any thought to what that could look like should they be at different schools in terms of watching them play? You and Ralph can't be in two places at the same time. So is it a matter of divide and conquer?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. There'll be some times when we can both go together, and then there's going to be times when we're going to have to divide and conquer. But we'll keep it even. We won't be favoring one way or the other. Whoever's playing that night is where we'll be.
Unless it's Cooper, right, Ace? Dad will be with Cooper and Mom will be with you.
I have a question. So, say I was at one college and Ace was at another, and then we were playing each other in one night. What college shirt are you wearing to the game?
It's going to be split.
We'll have to buy one of each and then cut
Sew 'em
them,
together.
have Mammy sew them together. So we have half of each, right?
We'll have to switch sides at halftime.
It's reminding me of when people were talking about the split Tom Brady jerseys that people were wearing during the Buccaneers Patriots game, the half red and half blue. I guess it's the way you can go with it, but certainly a question for down the road. This question is for Hunter. How do you feel about your brothers being in Florida next year?
Well, I'd like to go back a little bit earlier to what you guys were talking about when Dad said at first Florida was a no. And I'd like to note that he did shed a couple tears. Big man has a little soft spot for his little babies, but that's okay. I mean, I was obviously, I mean, I'm a little bit sad, but it's a great opportunity for them being able to go to such renowned school in the country. And I mean, there was definitely I'm extremely proud, but feeling I'd say it was a little bit sad, but mostly proud.
Speaking of another question that I'm sure everybody's wondering, can you guys take Scal one-on-one? Be honest.
I mean, I haven't had the chance to play the guy, but I say I'd hold my own. I mean, Scal, if you're here, you're watching. I don't know if you are or not, but might have to lace him up one of these times.
Cooper and Ace, you play Scal. What's the score? Let's say it's first to 11.
11-9 Scal. He's gonna overpower me. I'll give him 9. He's in his body control is just too good.
Yeah, I would say that too. Scal's he's a big dude, and it's hard to play.
I never plan on playing Scal though, so it's not in my interests.
When they play, Scal always makes sure that he's with Cooper on the same team, so, instead of against.
Sounds like he might. It sounds like he might know it might not go his way if he played one-on-one. So he's just trying to make sure nobody sees that happen. Another question coming in: who is the most competitive?
Me. Yeah, without a doubt. I always am the one that wants to win the most, so I'm going to be the most competitive, and I think they know how it is. They never can really argue that. So usually I do win. So.
And just a final wrap-up question. I think this is a good one. The Five Boys success is an inspiration for young kids in Maine who have their own hoop dreams. What would you say to them?
Something I would leave kids with that are trying to pursue a career in basketball is just take care of your body off the court, and then on the court, things just get in the gym as much as possible. You can never be in it enough. Even I look back and there's times I'm like, I should have been in the gym more, should have prepared myself better for things that I'm going to, but try and just live with no regrets and just get in the gym as much as you can.
Ace and Hunter, how about you?
I would tell him Andy as something Andy has told all of us, believe. If you want to make it there and win games, you have to believe in yourself first. So.
Well, like Kelly was saying. Oh, Hunter, go ahead.
Oh, all right. One thing that I would say is just keep working. You know, I was not good at basketball at all coming in high school, in middle school. I mean, up 6th grade year. I went all the way through, made B teams in 7th grade, A team, 8th grade year. Just prove that the hard work pays off, and if you keep to the grindstone, it's really just gonna work out in the end if everything goes well.
Excellent. Well, I think it's a good point to end on. And Cooper, Hunter, Ace, and Kelly and Ralph, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was great talking to you guys and to catch up both on what's happened and what is still ahead for you. Just a reminder, this discussion is being recorded and will be available on centralmaine.com later. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time, and best of luck with the rest of the EYBL season and Montverde and everything that comes after.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.